You are now listening to the Business Chatter Podcast.
All right. Welcome to the Business Chatter Pod.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Anthony.
And we're happy you're here with us today.
We are.
The Business Chatter Podcast, we're talking about entrepreneurship, startups to enterprise, value creation, team building, product management, and everything in between.
So we got a good one today, Chris.
We do.
We are talking with the co-founder of Nebula Snacks, David Jacobowitz.
Really excited to have him on the show today.
Yes. Awesome individual, really exciting. It was a fantastic conversation. He was really generous with his time, really insightful, really realistic about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And sometimes you don't always get that. You talk about or talk with a founder about their business and you hear all the positives, but you don't really hear the struggles. And again, that's why we're here. We want to have these conversations with individuals so you can listen if you want to do this yourself and say, oh, wow, this is what I need to do. This is the perspective that I'm looking for. Or you can say, this is the perspective I'm not looking for. That's, I don't agree with this. I'm going to do the opposite. That's fine too. We're totally here for counter opinions. If you want to go, you want to reject our null hypothesis, it's totally fine.
Yeah. I mean, we're not here to tell you, you have to do it this way, or this is the only way to do it. Our goal is to gather insight from the individuals who have done it or are currently doing it, and provide that as a way to start to create an outline for, what works, what doesn't. And naturally, depending on your industry, your goals, that's going to change. And if you do disagree, please let us know, because we want to be able to have open conversation so we can really get down to what helps entrepreneurs become successful. That's right. We're, again, grateful for his time, for his insight, and just taking the time on a small little podcast like ours. But personally, I found David through LinkedIn. I am a customer of Nebula Snacks' products. I do recommend them. I did Sober Sugar October this past year, and I've been really trying to cut down on added sugar. The Nebula Snack Bar is a great alternative. It does taste very good. It is sweet from natural flavorings, monk fruit, I believe. And outside of that, it's a small business that we're supporting with a founder who is focused on making a positive impact moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to jump into the episode. Afterwards, we'll wrap things up as we normally do. Please do share your insights with us after you get a chance to review it. And we're looking forward to seeing you on the other side.
All right.
Great. David, thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Really appreciate it. For those watching, this is David from Nebula Snacks. We're going to go ahead and let him explain his business a little bit, and then we can dig into some questions and really understand his journey, how he's gotten to this point.
Yeah. Hey, guys. I'm David. I am the co-founder of Nebula Snacks. We are a healthy snacking company that currently makes zero sugar chocolate bars, and we're on a mission to eliminate added sugars from Earth's snacks. Ultimately, we want to knock big sugar out of this world. That's who we are. Right now, we've got a dark chocolate and an oat milk chocolate, more chocolate to come, and more snacks to come in 2023.
That's great. Personally, I'm really excited for that. I will be keeping an eye out and certainly be in touch. I really do love your branding. I know that that's something that you have a background in the branding and marketing side of things. So we can dig into that. But would you mind telling us a little bit about your story, how Nebula Snacks came about?
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I had the entrepreneurial bug coming out of college or any time in my youth. I maybe played around as a kid once with a Beanie Baby setup, selling Beanie Babies in my front yard. And that's probably the most entrepreneurial thing I did as a kid. I didn't make many sales that day. I think I sold three or four of them because I took all the tags off. They weren't very valuable. But I got the itch probably when I was working at Facebook back in 2017 through 2021. And I was supporting a lot of different businesses, working with a lot of different entrepreneurs and founders of their own respective businesses. And my job was to help them advertise on Facebook and Instagram. And I'd say over that period of time, I got more and more the itch to ask, why am I not doing this? Why am I just helping these amazing founders start their incredible businesses and see them grow from inside a large tech organization? So fast forward to 2020, I just moved to New York for a new role at Facebook. I was a client solutions manager for their disruptors team, working with more advanced, rapidly growing businesses. The itch is continuing. And one particular night, as we were all stuck inside during quarantine, I got back into video games. I was playing with my now co-founder Matt, and we were snacking. 80% of gamers snack while they're gaming, and I was eating so much sugar. I was staying up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. This was going on for 2 months, 3 months. We were playing Warzone, and one particular night, I remember having over 100 grams of sugar in a couple-hour period, and that's going to ruin your sleep. That's not going to make you feel good. And we started joking while talking that night, saying, "Hey, why don't we start a company with snacks that don't have these ingredients in them that you can eat and enjoy?" And that's where it started. I like to say we laughed our way into filing an LLC a couple months later because we liked the idea so much and we couldn't really shake it from our heads. So that ultimately resulted in a lot of Google searching, me buying a lot of chocolate, doing some recipe testing in my own kitchen, making a mess in my small New York apartment. And it was kind of history from there. It took about 1.5 years of research and development, working with the chocolatier, talking back and forth with you name how many co-manufacturers to see if we can make the product, developing the brand. But I'm happy to dive into the nitty gritty because it was a very long journey, but a very fun journey at the same time.
Yeah, your background's super interesting. You went from Cal Berkeley to blue chips to essentially being a chocolatier, being a healthy snack guru, and I think that's that's something a lot of people wouldn't want to take the risk to do. Facebook's a great company. TikTok's a great company. It sets you up for success if you want to go work anywhere else. And I think putting your eggs in a basket to do your own thing strikes fear into the heart of a lot of people. So when you started this, did you view it as a risk? Or I know you said you didn't have the entrepreneurial bug right away, but was it just something I have to do this? This is what I have to do. Or was it difficult?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is a risk. You can't go into something like this without acknowledging that it is a risk. I had the privilege of working at some amazing companies that allowed me to save some money and invest in something like this. But absolutely, it is a risk. What it ultimately boiled down to is, one of the beliefs that I developed early on in my career was that complacency is self-destructive. It goes hand in hand with always be learning. And I felt at that point in my career that I was no longer learning new things when it came to marketing. And don't get me wrong, I loved working with my clients. I loved developing marketing plans, but I felt as if my growth had stagnated. And at that point in your career, I was, mid-20s. You should never let your growth stagnate at that point in your career. You need to learn. You need to challenge yourself.
Sure.
So when this idea kind of came about, it wasn't really a matter of, is it a risk that I'm willing to take? It was, I am going to learn so much from this experience because I'm diving literally into the deep end that I have no experience in. And that has been the truth. So I've made plenty of mistakes, in the last 2.5 years since this whole journey started, and it's been well worth it.
Something that you said really, the mindset piece really speaks to it, where you were jumping in knowing that you're going to learn a lot, and setting yourself up to know that you're going to make mistakes, and not looking at a mistake as a failure, but more so as a step on the way to be able to get better. And I think that's a really important piece. That's something that Anthony and I have discussed, kind of in solo episodes before, but it's really important and refreshing to hear that be a key piece of the journey. When we talk about mistakes, is there anything that's like glaring that really stands out to you that you can share, whether it's specific to the process or more so on the entrepreneurial side of, I should have done it differently?
Yeah, I mean, you name it in terms of mistakes. There's been plenty, but I'll call out a few just to share. So, I'm bootstrapping the business. This is a self-funded venture. We didn't raise any capital, and I went into it with the background of supporting much larger organizations. Right when I was at Facebook, I was supporting advertisers spending anywhere from $100,000 a quarter in Facebook ad spend alone to $9 million a quarter. in ad spend, and honestly later on, even more than that. So my background was, oh, here's the marketing plans for these rapidly growing businesses. Here's how they're going to grow exponentially with the amount of money that they have in the bank. And when I went to set up Nebula from the get-go, I made a lot of assumptions of this needs to be set up at a much larger scale from the get-go, when in reality, it's a startup. It was something that, a lot of the steps and processes and partnerships that I made early on were not necessary until a later point in the company's maturity. So one prime example is that we partnered very early with a third-party logistics company to fulfill all of our orders automatically, stock our product, etc. I should have self-fulfilled all the products from day one. The third-party fulfillment center not only charged me a pick and pack fee on every single order, they weren't giving me great rates on shipping. I was paying a warehouse fee. Those were prices that stockpiled. And then when it came to the summer of 2021, chocolate and summer don't really go hand in hand. We needed to find a way to keep our product safe, and we needed to have it on hand. And I'll let you know one thing: I never plan to spend money to ship my own products to myself anymore. That is not something I will ever do again, but that was a very big mistake by partnering with that 3PL. Don't get me wrong, we had product on hand, but we ran out. And then you got to pay to ship it to yourself because it's in a different location. So had to pay a hefty fine to break up with that 3PL this past summer. And I've been self-fulfilling ever since, and our cost savings have been tremendous. I made that money up on that fine or the fee to break up with them pretty quickly.
I think that's really good input. Chris and I had this conversation about growth. All entrepreneurs are so anxious to grow, but sometimes they grow at the risk of development. It's really hard to handle externalities as a startup. And if you put all your eggs into a basket early, it's really hard to deal with anything that comes out of it if you're not meeting these ambitious growth goals right away. Sometimes you have a product that can support it. You're a unicorn company, you're Facebook, and within a year you're worth $1 billion and you have massive investment. But other times it just doesn't work, and you have to build the brand, and it's something you have to realize and take into account and kind of be adaptable. And sometimes if you're putting all your eggs in these baskets and forming these strategic partnerships early that might not be necessary to the business out of ambition, you're kind of hurting your ability to adapt.
Absolutely. Yeah, you say strategic partnerships. I'd say the strategic aspect of that partnership was not well thought out. So, hindsight's 2020. Build for what you're currently supporting, and then build as it grows. Right? You don't need to, don't put the cart before the horse, because you have to understand what that scale is to better understand what partnerships and support that you need from external parties.
Absolutely. And we appreciate that transparency because it is extremely valuable. There are plenty of businesses that are in similar situations where, even myself, sometimes I find in conversation where, do we need to do this? Maybe we should do this. And the business isn't ready for that yet. And, sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow, but also once you've gotten to that point where you understand it, you realize that you're actually setting yourself up for more longevity by not getting too far ahead of yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? I'll also say it gives you a newfound respect for all the minute processes that you previously did not take into account, the time and the effort. There was a day when we were back on pre-orders after summer 2021, this past summer, and we had, I believe, over 100 something orders to fulfill. And I had to pack all those boxes and write the thank you notes, right? And I'm just sitting here in my office, slowly making sure that I've got each box packed. And that, is very different work than what I was doing at Facebook. It's very manual. It's very, laborious and time, it's a big time commitment. So that in of itself gave me a newfound respect for the entire process. And I look forward to packing boxes now.
Absolutely. That's mindset, right? Being able to shift from, hey, this, at Facebook, this would have been a task where you're like, what are we doing here? And now you can find enjoyment and value in being able to do that. And, years down the line, you'll look back and maybe miss the handwritten note process, right? Or at the very least, really value the fact that it was something that was part of the journey, because it did, humble and teach you quite a bit about, what it's like to be in the trenches, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely. I've spent a lot of nights on the floor here in my office packing boxes.
And I mean, it even comes down to personal experience from us. I remember working at On Deck with you and sending emails to partners and being like, why can't we just automate this? This is so frustrating. I mean, they're all the same. And now we will spend hours crafting an email to every individual we want to have on this podcast, and we will not think twice about it. We enjoy it. We are happy to do it because every voice that we can get out here is beneficial to them, we feel, and beneficial to us at the same time, and expanding our platform. And when it's not your own thing, you really have a hard time appreciating that. You kind of feel like a cog in the machine.
Yes. And I'll also let you know that I don't respond to automated emails. So I can tell that they're automated. It's not personal. It's not something that I'm going to take my time to read, because
Sure.
I get a ton of them. So I did notice that you guys did actually do your research, understand what Nebula was before you went ahead and contacted me. So
So
there is a lot of value in that.
moving forward, can you talk a little bit about your plans for the future with Nebula? Very broadly.
Yeah, no, I'm currently very much in the process of mapping that out. So we hit about 80% of our goal in the first year of the business, which, at first I was like, crap, I failed. And now I'm like, you know what? I learned what worked and what didn't. And now I have an understanding of where I need to focus my efforts moving forward and what I need to change. Unfortunately, I need to change a lot, right? And fortunately, right? It's a good thing.
Sure.
But the bare bones of it is that I am overhauling our operations and going to be taking a lot of our customer feedback to slightly change the product. So most of our customers have told me that they generally don't eat an entire bar in one sitting. They break off a piece or two. They have it as a nice sweet treat, either in the middle of the day or after dinner or late night, and then they put it away for another time. So I'm working to make the product a little bit smaller. And then I'm also going to be improving the nutritional value of the product, because my understanding of nutritional values has also grown in the last 2.5 years of working in food and beverage. And I'd like to meet additional nutritional value standards that I believe would be beneficial in a chocolate stack of this nature. So I'm looking into protein. I'm looking into removing our sunflower lecithin from the product. I'm looking into what fillings I can include, potentially naturally sweetened sugars that come in the form of a filling, right? A brownie batter, a raspberry jelly, etc. That'll amplify the flavor profiles of our current base chocolates. The plans then are focused on wholesale. So another early mistake is assuming that I could be a successful e-commerce business with a $0 marketing budget. It took 6 months. We did see sales. We did grow. We did some boots on the ground marketing, handing out samples here in Austin, Texas, filming some videos, doing some organic content. But in reality, it's very difficult to bootstrap an e-commerce business. So I have shifted a lot of the business to wholesale and retail. In the last 3 months now, we've entered into 20 doors, primarily here in Austin, Texas. And we're focused on becoming an office snack across the country. So one of our big deals is that we are currently a office snack within the Meta offices here in Austin, Texas, and we're going to continue to support that part of the business to successfully grow and fund the rest of our development for new flavors, functions, and snacks.
That's great. That's great. And the fact that it is so well thought out while you are still going through the process of refining that, just speaks to the attention to detail and the understanding of being able to put the learnings into place. Total transparency. I found you through LinkedIn. I did order the product. I really enjoy it. And everything that you've expressed are thoughts that I had. I don't eat the entire bar. I eat pieces of it. I eat it at night because I've had those 100-gram sugar nights. And for October, I was like, I need to stop doing this. So I actually really enjoyed having the bars at night as my sweet treat without piling on, and helping to avoid. But also the office snack idea is really great, because there's always been the conversation about sugars, how bad they can be for you. But it seems like we're reaching a tipping point now where offices, companies, individuals are truly prioritizing, or starting to get to the point of prioritizing their health in a meaningful way. and to be able to have something that is good for you and satisfies what you're looking for from the sugar side of things, and also having sustainable packaging and being responsible from that perspective. I mean, it's truly win-win across the board. So, thank you for putting all of those considerations together and having a product that can actually drive that with innovation coming down the line.
Well, that means the world to me. So thank you. Yeah, it is, a hard look at the business and acknowledging the current shortcomings and where we need to focus moving forward. Now, the office snack is particularly interesting because snack culture in general has changed dramatically in the last couple of years, right? I mean, when we were all
Definitely.
stuck inside, we were snacking a ton. When I work from home, I eat far more than when I'm out on the road, and I pack a couple of healthy snacks, and that's what I'm limited to. But I'm home, I got full access to my pantry and cabinet. And for offices, right, for ones that are well stocked, you got full access to whatever's there as well. More and more consumers are searching for the healthier option as the research and research that added sugars are not great for you have come to light a little bit more, right? The FDA now requires companies to list added sugars on the nutrition label, and that's a new development. So that
Yep.
begs the question to the consumer. Only 50% of consumers look at the nutrition label, but of those 50%, they're starting to ask more and more, what is added sugars, right? And that's allowing us to have a much larger conversation on added versus natural. What's the amount of sugar that you could have or should have on a daily basis as a part of your personal diet, so on and so forth. So this conversation is evolving, and more people, when they're snacking at the office, are looking for that lower sugar option or that natural sugar option. And more people don't want to be at the office for a long period of time. So even the offices like Meta that have historically offered 3 meals a day with a full cafeteria and freshly cooked food, more employees are opting for the snack and go because they don't want to be at the office all day, every day, which is the initial reason for that perk. So more and more people are grabbing that snack as their quick lunch, or maybe skipping the dinner portion of what's offered as at the office, and heading home to be where they want to be.
And I have to say, the consumer in me, I don't know if there's any data that backs this up at all, but office snacks make up about 2/3 of my pantry. It's a great way to expose your product to consumers. The oat mega bars, I don't know if you've ever had them, but they're something that we used to have in our office, and I had one for the first time there, and now I probably have 2 a day, and it's 7 years later. So
Yep. I mean, you look at some brands like Hint Water. Hint Water, like a major portion of their business was office snacks for a very long period of time. And I'll admit, right, I don't really eat them much anymore. But when I first moved to Austin and I got the job at Facebook, it was the largest selection of office snacks that I had ever, encountered. And they had these Quest protein bars, which were relatively popular at the time in 2017, but have only since grown. And I used to grab one of those a day, right? And it was a staple of my diet for years, for years. Now I've since moved to more plant-based proteins and more natural proteins if I can, but occasionally I still do grab a Quest bar here and there when I'm, willing to have a little bit of sugar alcohol.
Yep.
it's fun.
Absolutely.
I was going to say it's funny you bring up the Hint waters, because that's the first place I had a Hint water as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Same for me.
Yeah, I forget the exact, I think like 30% of their business before the pandemic was office snacks.
And the exposure is an important piece of it, because at the very least, you see it, you might talk about it, and even if the product isn't specifically for you, we all know someone who may be on the journey of reducing their sugar intake. Maybe there's ingredients in other snacks that they can't, their body is not
Yep.
meshing with. So the awareness there, and I know I mentioned this kind of up top, but your brand, I really do enjoy it. Please, anybody who's listening, sign up for the newsletter. It's great. It's exciting. I look forward to it when it comes in. You do a really great job on the website of making it more than just a snack, in the sense of it's something to read. There's something interesting that's part of it, but it's not cumbersome. It's not a read this for 10 minutes and, it's a quick read. It's well done. So, the evolution of the brand is also something that I personally enjoy, and I can see that I'm sure a lot of your customers enjoy being part of that as well.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we try to be a little bit more than just your monotone brand that we see a lot of today. And don't get me wrong, I love the sheen look of a lot of the brands that are out there with the two color monotone, clean branding. But we wanted to be different. We liked the idea of the galaxy effect on our packaging. Right, the bars are wrapped in this HP Mosaic tool printing technology that allows us to have every bar that has a different nebula background on it. And that was just one of the early things that we were fascinated with when talking with a packaging partner. We're like, there's no way we can't do that. Tell us how we can do that. Because we wanted to be different. We wanted to stand out on the shelf. And, you know, there's a lot of power that goes with that and color acknowledgement of what the product is. And there's also a lot that I want to change on our packaging now too. So, right, you learn as well. But when it comes to the newsletter, I really am trying to tell our story as authentically as possible, as transparently as possible, as I'm currently, you know, on a weekly basis discovering my new priorities. So I try to share that reasonably. But one of the best parts of our newsletter is the space fact, where I present a space fact of planets, of, you know, how our galaxy works, etc. And I think this past week I published a fact of Jupiter being the largest planet within our Milky Way galaxy. And one of our readers was passionate enough to email me and vehemently request a correction to that space fact, saying, "Hey, there's no way we can know Jupiter is the number one, is the biggest planet within our galaxy, because we don't even know 0.1% of our galaxy as it stands today." And, you know, I issued the correction. I'm very sorry that I was presumptuous in that nature to say that Jupiter is our largest planet. So I had to say Jupiter is our largest known planet in the Milky Way galaxy. But yes, that's kind of the part of it, is showing a little bit more beyond, right? We are snacks. I do talk a lot about sugar, but there's more to learn, you know, in every aspect of life.
So not only are you providing a healthy product for individuals, but you're prepping your consumer base for jeopardy if they ever have
Pretty
a chance.
much. Yeah. I've always wanted to be on a game show. I don't know if it would be Jeopardy. I think, you know, in reality, my skills would be better suited for a baking competition show.
that makes
probably
sense.
I'd like to believe like British Bake Off, but I think I'm more suited for Nailed It.
Hey, that's it's a great aspiration to have, right? That's
Tastes great, doesn't look great.
it's well, you know, was the response to the email, right, with the customer reaching out, was there part of you that was like, hey, I made it? Was that like an I made it moment a little bit, to have somebody respond back and say, hey, like, let's get this corrected, that they took the time to follow up on something?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's weeks where you send a mission report, you know, out and you get no real engagement, no responses, but to know that somebody is reading in depth to that level, yes, that was a degree of confidence that I hadn't had in our newsletter. And just to get that validation that, hey, somebody is reading the entire mission report, checking it and seeing what they have, their 2 cents to offer, and then potentially learning from it as well. So regardless of whether you're placing a purchase or not, I don't care. If you're reading our story and you're becoming a brand ambassador as a result, that's all that matters to me.
That's great.
So I know we only have a few minutes left. I want to respect your time. But what has been your biggest I made it moment to this point? Is there anything that really stands out to you? I know obviously this is evolving very heavily.
Yes. And we could also frame it as a big win too, as opposed, you know, so that way it's not, you know, it doesn't have to be a you brag thing, but we do love hearing about the success.
It's a great question. I wouldn't say I've made it yet, right? This is still very much evolving. I'm a young entrepreneur. This is a small brand. So I wouldn't say I've made it just yet, but I've learned a ton as a result of all this, and in that sense, I have made it from the knowledge that I've gained through this experience. Big win. Let's see. I'll talk about just big moments rather than big wins, because we have a couple in the works. You know, getting into the Facebook offices was obviously a very big win. Mm-hmm. But big moments was, I think, a couple months back, I was just racking my head, stuck inside, and that's never something I'd recommend. Always get outside when you're in this business. The changes the world.
Sure.
But
Never
I
underestimate
decided
the
to,
daylight.
yes, get outside is the number one piece of advice I can give to most entrepreneurs. Um, and I just decided to walk around. We weren't in any doors at that time. We weren't doing retail. It wasn't a focus of ours. I didn't even have our retail display boxes made, designed whatsoever. And I decided to walk into a couple of doors with some product and just say, hey. And I walked into the first two. The owners didn't really express much interest. They were like, "Who are you? I don't care about your product. Leave me alone. We don't need sugar-free chocolate bars here." And then on the third stop, which was the amount that I decided to visit that day, just for a short outing. The third stop, the guy was like, "All right, let's do it." And I was like, "What? you know, what you want to put my product on your shelf?" And they're like, "Yeah, why not? Let's see how it does." And I absolutely love visiting. South Lamar Grocery is the name of that store. It's connected. It's a convenience store connected to a Shell station. It's not the most glamorous shelf that I was able to get on, but to me, it meant the world. And I love stopping by there twice a week just to check on our inventory levels. And I've done a couple of demos there. And that moment was one of the biggest moments of this journey thus far.
That's great to hear. Thank you for sharing that. And you said South Lamar Grocery?
South Lamar Grocery here in Austin, Texas. Yeah, it's
shout out to them.
It's a very nice location. I mean, you think convenience store connected to a gas station, you think one thing. This one looks so amazing. It's clean. It's got a whole healthy food section, which we're currently in display on, and I love going there. So props to Joe and the management team there that took us on and gave us a shot.
Absolutely. It's so important, to give someone a shot when you have the opportunity. So that's a very important piece. And thank you for bringing that up. Just kind of in closing, do you have any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs? Maybe, a bullet point or two that, regardless of industry that you think, aside from all that we've talked about today, that they can take away from this in their journey?
Yeah. Write down your goals. That's an immediate piece of advice that I'll give you. You're far more likely to accomplish it if you do write it down. So just putting it on a piece of paper is far better than keeping it in your head, because if you keep it in your head, it's going to fluctuate and you're going to get discouraged. Keep it down, write it out, and follow suit with what it takes to get there. The other piece of advice is, this comes with a grain of salt. Like, try to stay out of your own head. You are your own enemy. You are your own resistance. There's a great book called The War of Art that I'd highly recommend. It speaks to getting in your own head and conquering that blocker. We all go up and down with our journeys here. I can't say that I've been 100% confident in this business every moment of the last 2.5 years. I have definitely fluctuated and had my moments of stress and anxiety, but stick with it and know that if you see it through, you're going to grow, right? So stay out of your own head, write down your goals, and enjoy the process. Trust the process.
Great. That's extremely beneficial advice. Thank you for sharing that.
And get outside.
Yeah.
And get outside.
And get outside. Vitamin D, good energy, and you never know who you're going to meet. Some of my biggest opportunities have come randomly meeting strangers on the street.
That's very, especially when you're trying to progress in whatever way that is. Absolutely. Being open to opportunity is the easiest way to start attracting it, right?
Yes.
See, that's
yes. I mean, you're getting me, going here. The other one I'll throw out there is, you're going to have an urge to say yes to everything. Be okay saying no to some things.
That's a good one.
That's very good. Yeah. Because you do have to guard your time and you have to prioritize. So, similar to what you talked about with, like your early supply chain partnerships, right? Sometimes it's not the right time for it, and no now doesn't mean no forever, but, giving yourself the opportunity to have the time is certainly sometimes more valuable in certain circumstances, for sure.
And it's the other one that you said, you never know who you're going to run into. Chris and I, again, have this conversation all the time. Everything is sales. No matter who you're meeting, put on a good face, have a good conversation. They might be a stranger sitting next to you on the airplane, but if they want to engage you in conversation, if you're not doing anything, why not talk to them? You never know what's going to come of it.
I always talk to the people next to me on airplanes now, and I feel a little bit guilty for it because I know that in their mind they're like, I don't want to talk to anybody on this flight. I just want to get it done. But if you're sitting next to me on a plane, we're going to have a conversation.
Hey,
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's a good thing, and and moving forward, people will look back at those conversations and tell their friends that they had a chance to speak with David from Nebula Snacks. David, thank you so much for your time. We are really grateful for you sharing it with us. Before we go, please tell us where our listeners can find you.
Yeah, right now you can find us at our website, nebulasnacks.com. We're also available on Amazon. And on our website, we have a store locator where it'll show you where to buy in store. We're available at about 12 or 13, 14 next week. 14 next week stores here in Austin, Texas, and a couple of boutique locations across the country. In LA, upstate New York, randomly, Colorado, and Washington. So check that out, and we'll hopefully be in a couple of more locations soon by the time you listen to this.
Great. Thank you so much. And for all the entrepreneurs who are listening, David is a great follow on LinkedIn. So we will include all of those links in the show notes. So that way you have a chance to click and follow. And please do support. We love small businesses. We love entrepreneurs, and we love people that are setting out to achieve their goals. So thank you so much, David.
Yes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What did we tell you?
Yeah, it was good.
Great first episode. Thank you again to David. Thank you, Nebula Snacks. Check out the show notes for all the information on how to get in contact with them.
Yeah, especially if you are interested in not only eating healthy, but learning facts about the galaxy.
Absolutely. There's an educational piece in your health journey.
Yeah, there is money in Jeopardy, guys. I've known people that have went on Jeopardy and walked away with real money. It's a real thing. It's awesome.
I know someone who was turned down for Jeopardy.
I had a TF in college who was on Jeopardy. He won.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's not easy. Jeopardy is not easy. There's days where you think you're rolling, and there's days where you know nothing. So it's a very humbling experience. And educational television. If you're going to spend time watching TV, Jeopardy's a great choice.
You know what I'm really good at that I'm always disappointed when I watch because I lose just a little bit of faith in humanity is Wheel of Fortune. I think it's so much easier than people make it out to be. Or maybe when you're under pressure, again, it's hard for me to judge. I've never been on Wheel of Fortune. I've never met anybody on Wheel of Fortune. But every time I watch Wheel of Fortune with my grandma, I'm like, this is...
Oh, maybe when they do how they do college week and all that, maybe they'll do a small business podcast week, and then you and I can go on Wheel of Fortune and we can test it out.
That's maybe.
Right?
We should email them.
We should.
Yeah.
And if they email us back, we'll respond.
Yeah, we will respond. Maybe we can even... Who's the host?
Pat Sajak.
Get Pat Sajak on the pod.
That'd be crazy.
I
don't know that
is really relevant.
Well, not even that. I don't know that. What channel is it on? I don't know if the network would want him to be on a podcast at this point.
Did he?
I don't know.
Just like not worth it.
Well, I just feel like it's such a long running show. Like if he talks about the back, I feel like they'd want the back end of the show.
Yeah.
I feel like they'd want to do a documentary. They wouldn't want to just have him on a random podcast.
True.
But we'll see. We'll follow up after we send the email and see what happens.
Yeah, we can try to fit it in. If you want to be on our podcast, Pat Sajak.
Pat Sajak, please. We'd love to have you.
All right. So with that, thanks for listening, watching, liking, subscribing, following us on Instagram at the Business Chatter Pod. You can also email us, suggest a guest idea, inquire to be a guest if you email us at host@businesschatterpod.com. We will respond to you.
We will respond, and we'd love to hear your story. So entrepreneurs, business owners, everything from small business to enterprise, VCs, private equity, everybody in between, reach out. We'll respond, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, even if you're not interested in being on the podcast or sending anybody our way, if you have a story, if you have an anecdote you'd like to share, send it to us, and there's a good chance we might talk about it if we think it's okay.
Absolutely. We want to engage as much as possible, and we appreciate you sharing your valuable time with us. We are the Business Chatter Podcast. Consider us your crash course on value creation through the words of individuals who have done it before. See you next time.
See you guys.